Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for having me here tonight, Mike and Mark and Mike Murray. Before I begin, I'd just like to thank Mark Wagner, Mike Murray, Debbie Bernard, Alan Wilhelms, and Jessica Milano for actually reviving this program. There was a time when this would happen like this, and then for a while it waned. And we just did some things at the game during halftime. But now it's kind of reviving itself, and we're able to have dinner together. However, I wasn't here to have dinner with you. I was coaching a 5th and 6th grade football team. I don't have the boys. I have two wonderful girls, but I coach a 5th and 6th grade team. And I do that to help a friend, but also maybe someday coach a guy like Mike again in the future. What a great pleasure it is for me to be here tonight to introduce Mike Milano. And when I was asked to do this, it was a tremendous honor for me. And I took a lot of time to think about what I was going to say and how I was going to say it. And thought I'd have thought I might have a little difficulty putting it all together and being succinct about what I was going to say. But once I sat down to start to write, it came to me without trouble. And I could go on for a long time about Mike and his contributions to Rocky River and the district. And everything else. But while at Rocky River High School, Mike did a lot of things. He was dynamic in the classroom, but also dynamic on the field and on the wrestling mat. He often did things that, for us standing on the sidelines, if you were around in those days, we just look at each other. And sometimes we were rendered speechless by the things he was able to do. And I know you were able to read some of the stats and things that were in the nice book that Mark and Mike put together for this. But that happened with regularity with Mike. Just a couple of the actual specific events that those of you who've been around might remember. His victory over Explosive Davis. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Explosive Davis, but Mike beat him. Explosive Davis was a wrestler, and Mike beat this guy that was supposed to go to states, and Mike beat him as a sophomore to go to the state tournament. It was just absolutely incredible. I remember everything about it today. And then a double overtime win against Olmsted Falls, which was huge back in those days. Mike, as you saw in the what do you call that thing? Planner, I want to call it a planner. Program, yeah, that's it. That he had just a tremendous amount of yards, 3,500, almost 3,500 yards, career yards for Rocky River. But there is a qualifying statement that I must make. For that. It might kill me if I didn't. It was back in the days of the old SWC, and I had to say that for Mike's benefit. Mike continued to amaze us when he used the word amaze. Isn't it a little amaze? He went to University of Michigan on a scholarship to wrestle, and he did that through sheer hard work. And we went on a recruiting visit there that I'll never forget, and I was able to go with he and his family, and it was just a spectacular experience for us. But he worked hard as a freshman to break the lineup that was just filled with national champions from across the country. And so he worked real hard, but the desire to play football burned in Mike. And so he engineered a tryout with the Wolverines, the football team. And, it said that in the program. I got it right that time. But the story that goes along with that, I'd love to tell it. I'm not going to tell it now because it's lengthy and there are a lot of details, but if you ever wanted to hear it, I'd love to tell it. But again, we were amazed by it, but at the same time, we weren't amazed because of the things that he's been able to accomplish athletically and otherwise. But one thing in particular, Mike, that game against Minnesota, if you recall, 12 yards that game, I think, would have been an over 100-yard game, certainly, if it wasn't for that All-American linebacker. That's only part of the story of Mike Milano, the athletic portion of it. There's much more, much deeper than that. And he went on to graduate from the University of Michigan, which actually, quite frankly, might be one of the biggest accomplishments of his life. I'm kidding, of course. After he graduated, he traveled the world, really. He went to South Africa and taught surfing to kids, went to Hawaii, did the same, went to Thailand and Brazil, and also went to Nepal and climbed Mount Everest. Small part of Mount Everest. He nonetheless climbed Mount Everest. You can say he did that. Now he's involved with Teach for America, which is another incredible calling that he's dedicated himself to. And he teaches in a very poor district in New Orleans, and he dedicates his life to that now, to helping others and helping kids who have far less, most likely, than we do. So that's a great thing that you're doing there, Mike. He is a published author. He wrote a book called Michigan Men, about his experiences at Michigan, and it's available on Amazon.com, I think, for $25. You owe me. To just kind of finish up, I don't know what career path Mike will take from here. He's accomplished just about every goal that he's had so far in his life, and he continues to set lofty goals and expectations for himself, and he achieves those. And that's what really contributes to his greatness. So with great pleasure and admiration, I introduce Mike Milano.
Thank you, Mr. Gifford. The first time I met Sam Gifford, I was in 7th grade. I was thinking earlier today, you know, Giff, as I call him, introducing me. And I was thinking how appropriate it was. I met him in 7th grade, he was a 7th grade football coach. So there's only one coach I've had longer, Dan Vitari. He's not here, he coached me in 6th grade. And the first conversation I ever had with Sam comes up to me, I'm a 7th grade football player. He goes, Mike, I got to get your dad's number. I got a call about your brother Chris, who won't stop talking in his English class. That was the first conversation. He's been around forever. Like I said, I've known him since 7th grade, and the thing is, when you really set, you know, when you're young, you don't even really understand you're setting really spectacular goals. But you are, in a lot of ways. You're not aware of it. And when you set spectacular goals, you can't accomplish them on your own. And you come across people that help you and support you, and they make it possible for you, you know, to take that path. And I've been so fortunate; those people become lifelong friends, and that's the case with Sam Gifford, who is family at this point. Started coaching me in 7th grade, and guys like Mike Murray, who used to take my brother Chris back there to breakfast when Chris was in middle school. And I think I started being dragged along to those breakfasts when I was still in elementary school, probably 4th or 5th grade. And although Mike never coached me personally, here's someone who supported me my entire life. He's become one of my best friends. And that's the cool thing about athletics, is you build relationships that last forever. And that's great. I've been really, really fortunate to have some outstanding role models, mentors in my life. Great men, and it's been afforded to me through athletics. By chance, luck, or some sense of purpose, I've come across great people, and besides my father, the man who's affected me the most is Lloyd Carr. He's the coach of the University of Michigan. And he told us one day, and here's a guy, I don't think there are many around him, and he was just inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame this year. And he goes, listen, men, he goes, to play football at the University of Michigan, if you put on that winged helmet, and you run out there and you hit that gold-blue banner in front of 111,000 people, you will never, ever be able to thank everyone who helped you along the way. Whether consciously or just by chance, these people helped you, you won't be able to thank them all. So take every opportunity you can to give back. And I believe that's absolutely true. Fortunately, there are a lot of people here I can't thank that helped me do the things I've done. First, Vern Sharbaugh is here. He was the middle school, or not middle school, 5th and 6th grade. He was there coaching, and I'll never forget it, and I never have said this, but I remember Dave Ferguson telling him, he goes, Mikey's our best player. And then Mr. Sharp, I remember Ryan Overnight 22 ISO. You know, started it all. He was the coach. And right next to him is my grandpa, Lynn Bristow. He's a spectacular man. Every football game, sporting event, he's been there for all of us cousins and my brothers. And he's here tonight, and I'm incredibly proud that he is here. Quick story about him. When I was, my family, things are different. At Thanksgiving, we have takedown tournaments. Wrestling takedown tournaments on the floor after dinner. And it doesn't quite matter how old you are. We had a pickup football game. I must not have been 5 years old. My grandpa was probably 70. And he catches a pass out of the backfield, gives me a forearm. I was 8 years old, knocks me down, runs for a touchdown. We live in the glory days. And I'm just very, very proud that he's been around supporting me. My cousin, right? Well, you can tell my family, they're all the bald guys. You know, I'm lucky. I got lucky. Sean Bristow, state champion at Avon Lake, Hall of Fame inductee this year as well. Aside from being one of my best friends in the world, you know, I didn't realize this. I'm 26 now, and when I was, to be honest, when I was winning a lot of championships in high school, I didn't quite understand what that meant and how many people were helping me. Sean used to drive in every day to wrestle with me, every single day, not getting paid, not nothing. And wrestling's not a fun sport for those of you who aren't involved. He'd come in and wrestle with me every single day, and you know, certainly without him, I wouldn't have been wrestling in Michigan. That just would never have happened. I would never have had the partners in the room, so I'm grateful for him for that. There's my brother Chris back there, who was an outstanding athlete, and he's my best friend. There's not much more I can say than that. He's my best friend. My younger sister there, she put this whole thing together, but that's the least she does. She has 3 incredibly intense, and I guess for her, aggravating older brothers. And she has to fight harder than any of us, I think, to find her place. My Uncle Bill, right there, is the other shaved head. And a great man as well. And like I said, I've got a great family. My oldest brother is not here tonight. He's in Miami. Or he's not Miami, he's in Gainesville. And what he's literally doing is working to cure Alzheimer's. He's a neurologist. And my mom, who's not here, is cooler than all of us. She rode 77 miles today, riding through Oregon. She's riding from the tip of Washington to the southern tip of California on what will be her 4th cross-country ride. And my parents, they're the coolest people I know. Not only that, I wrote, I didn't want to bring up, I did a bit of writing. And in all the writing I've done, people don't mention this. There's a lot of passages they do mention. What I'm most proud of is about 2 pages I wrote about my parents. And I think what I wrote about them is the most true things I wrote, and it was the most impassioned things I wrote about what they mean to me and how important parenting is. And you see it even more now that I'm a teacher, but the ability to give a kid an opportunity to dream, and then to give him a medium in which to achieve those dreams through, and encouragement. And my dad advises me every day, not only through when we talk every day, but just through his actions. What would my dad do? And that's pretty much how I go about living my life, following the example that my parents have set for me. Other than my family, like I said, Sam Gifford, Mike Murray, Dan Batari's not here, who was my coach 6th grade. He coached in Avon Lake now, and after middle school, I have to mention him. After middle school, he went with high school with me, went from middle school to coach at the high school. 6th grade, he snuck me into a wrestling tournament, I won it. I like to think that was the domino that started it all. Mike Murray, Eric Twakla's not here. Ron Lewis, the football coach director when I was there, he's not here, and he's been a great influence on me. There's been a ton of people, and that's what happens when you achieve things. You cannot do it without the help, of people along the way. As far as athletics, I teach 3rd grade in New Orleans, and this isn't a manipulated statistic. It's not an opinion. The kids I teach come from the toughest neighborhood in the United States, the most entrenched, poorest areas there are in this country. And I go down to New Orleans to teach 3rd grade, and I go, what do I know about being young and growing up in the 9th Ward and having a family that was displaced by Hurricane Katrina? What do I know about having family members murdered? What do I know about living in a neighborhood where I watch, where their murders happen once a day in a population that's smaller than Rocky River? What can I teach them? Well, there's the obvious things. I can teach them to read, I can teach them to write, I can do math, stuff like that, but any teacher can teach them those things. So I go, well, what do I bring? What can I really teach them? And what it is, and it took me a while to realize this, because I was it's just so foreign to what we could possibly imagine, that life, growing up there from Rocky River. And they bring me in, and I go, well, I don't know anything about this, and then I go, well, I can teach them to transcend. And what I mean by transcend is I can teach them to rise above their circumstance, to rise above their environment, to rise above their peers, because those values, what it takes to do that, are universal. And athletics is a great metaphor for life, as you said. By itself, athletics, there's this great quote, the guy who started Patagonia was a surfer and a climber, and he goes, athletics is the conquerors of the useless. It doesn't do anything in of itself, but it's the lessons it teaches us. So I get to these kids, well, I can teach them to transcend. I can teach them to rise above expectations, rise above their peers, rise above their circumstance, and with the values that are instilled through athletics, discipline, doing the best you can even when you don't want to. Every day, you have to try to do the best you can. I can teach them respect. Respect the game. And by respect the game, I mean respect what it takes to be great. Respect the work that has to be done to truly become better than those around you, to truly transcend. I can teach them excellence, that transcending your peers or your circumstance isn't something you do when you show up to play Friday nights. It's not something you do just when you show up on Tuesday night to play your volleyball game. Excellence, as to be a champion, is something that you have to do day in, day out. It has to be the lifestyle that you live. And I can teach them ambition. Ambition to rise above people's expectations for you, to do better than what people think you are capable of. And those are the lessons that I learned through athletics. And that's why athletics are so critically important, because they teach us these life lessons that are absolutely universal. Thank you very much.